Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all my fellow panelists also, and thank you for having us in this session. First we'll briefly discuss about the where TESDA is situated in the Philippine Export Development Plan, and then we will discuss the national TVET initiatives that guide the TVET sector in providing quality programs and capacity building initiatives, particularly to address challenges brought by the fourth industrial revolution. And the last and the bulk of my presentation will then focus on specific programs and services that TESDA is doing, which are all supportive of the first strategy of the Philippine Export Development Plan. Here we have the Philippine Export Development Plan strategies. The first strategy is on improving the overall climate for export development, while the second is on exploiting existing and prospective opportunities from trading arrangements, and then the third on designing comprehensive packages of support for selected products and services sectors. Although we are part of discussions on free trade agreements, particularly those related to trade in services, I will not go over that in this presentation. Instead, we will focus on strategy one, particularly the second bullet, under that which is raising the productivity and competitiveness of Philippine enterprises. We have been involved in various consultations to prepare specific initiatives under this strategy, most recently when it was updated to reflect changes brought about by the midterm review and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now that we have established where TESDA sits in terms of the Philippine Export Development Plan, we now go to the national TVET initiatives. First, we have the national PST Plan for 2018 to 2022, which envisions a vibrant quality TVET for decent work and sustainable inclusive growth, and is guided by a two-pronged strategic thrust of TVET for global competitiveness and workforce readiness, and TVET for social equity and poverty reduction. The plan espouses an area-based and demand-driven TVET, which simply means that all TVET policies and programs must adhere to the specific needs and skills requirements of every group and community, and to be responsive to the needs of the industries through the delivery of TVET programs according to the identified skills priorities and emerging skills needs at the local and national levels. We have been tapping the services of our industry experts in the development of our competency standards and our training regulations. However, there are still limitations in terms of all of these developments because it is a tedious process. It goes through a very tedious process when we develop such standards and training regulations. Therefore, we have been developing processes and systems so that we would be also not only demand driven but also area based, so that we would be able to get the updated needs of our industry partners in the area, as well as develop training programs for them with a shorter turnaround time. So this is what we are doing for this year, particularly so that we would be more efficient and more responsive to the fast-changing needs of each industry. As part of TESDA's initiatives under the first strategic thrust on TVET for global competitiveness and workforce readiness, we have pursued on the internationalization of Philippine TVET. As a matter of fact, the Philippines, through TESDA Secretary La Peña, is the inaugural chair of the ASEAN TVET Council for 2020 to 2022. The ASEAN TVET Council is a multi-sectoral, cross-sectoral body that provides a platform for coordination, research and development on innovations and monitoring of regional programs that support the advancement of TVET in ASEAN. Likewise, recently, the Philippines, through TESDA Deputy Director General Rosana Ordoneta, was also designated as the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Human Resources Development Working Group Capacity Building Network Coordinator. So the Philippines, particularly TESDA's very important role in these multilateral fora, would ensure that TVET is well recognized as a tool in economic development through skills development, human resource management, and vocational training. We shall pursue cross-cutting collaboration to facilitate 21st century talents, enhance employability and quality employment, TVET innovation and research, industry engagement, among others. We hope for the Philippines to make our mark in terms of building the capacity of human resources in APEC economies, given its important role in post-pandemic recovery efforts and addressing education and employment-related challenges. While we have the National PST Plan, we also developed a COVID-19 recovery plan called the UPLAND TESDA Abot Lahat, Pivot Towards the New Normal, to specifically transition TESDA systems, processes, and programs into the new normal and allow the agency to cater to the skills needs of the people, which has seen an increase in demand for digital skills. This OPLAN also puts emphasis on sectors that should be prioritized to jumpstart national recovery, such as agriculture to support food security, health to contribute to public safety, ICT to minimize technological disruptions, and construction to revitalize the government's Build infrastructure program. Currently, we are at what we term the structural phase or the phase 3 of the plan, wherein we are already starting to put into practice new normal policies and programs pertaining to training delivery, assessment and certification, program registration, among others. And the third national TVET initiative is our TVET PH Fourth Industrial Revolution Framework, which aims to develop fourth IR learners equipped with not only technical skills, but also essential skills, socio-emotional skills, and STEM skills. This is basically a response to the challenges brought by the fourth IR and shows the steps we must take to maximize the opportunities brought by this phenomenon. The TVET PH 4th IR framework contains specific measures to ensure the right competencies are imparted to TVET learners. This sums up the steps we must take to ensure TVET learners are 4th IR ready, equipped with the necessary competencies needed to succeed now and in the future. Initiatives under the framework are clustered under 6 major groups: TVET policies, governance, curricula and standards, TVET delivery, quality of TVET human resources, and partnerships and networking. We now go to specific TESDA programs that contribute to the first strategy under the Philippine Export Development Plan for 2018 to 2022. First, we have our TESDA scholarship programs, the Training for Work Scholarship for TVET courses in priority industries and key employment generators, the Special Training for Employment Program or STEP for community-based TVET programs that encourages self-employment and entrepreneurship activities, and the Private Education Student Financial Assistance or PESFA for learners in private TVET institutions, and the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education for learners in state-run schools. These scholarship programs have all been looked into to see how it can be redirected to give priority to affected sectors and groups, including MSMEs, and augment the country's economic and employment recovery efforts. The Tolon Trabajo is the latest addition to TESDA scholarship programs, one that seeks to reskill and upskill target beneficiaries, including employed workers and MSMEs. We have actually revisited the implementing guidelines in order to integrate the new normal arrangements in the implementation of Tulong Trabaho Fund and in order to provide additional assistance to affected industries and displaced workers due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I would just like to highlight that the coverage of training programs to be funded under this scholarship program shall include the industry-specific and area-based skills requirements proposed by companies, industry groups, and MSMEs. This allows the private sector to really have a say in determining what are the priority areas which needs particular attention when it comes to training. And I highly encourage the members of the Philippine Export Federation to communicate with our TESDA offices on this to really take advantage of this opportunity. We are also engaging industries and companies in enterprise-based training. The National PST Plan, as I mentioned earlier, also calls for the strengthening of the enterprise-based TVET programs such as apprenticeship, learnership, and the dual training system. In fact, one major strategy under that plan is to really boost the enterprise-based training modality and have it as the leading training modality nationwide. There are already numerous studies that show the immense benefits of enterprise-based training, such as higher employment rate for learners. It is also beneficial to companies based on our cost-benefit study. Our own tracer studies, the study on employment of TVET graduates that we conduct annually, have also shown that our enterprise-based training graduates have higher employment rates, and it is therefore only logical that we exert more effort in enticing the private sector in the delivery of these enterprise-based training programs. Further to this, we are also expediting the establishment of national and local industry boards to make the country's TVET system more responsive to the demands of the industry. Specifically, their establishment shall further institutionalize the participation of industries, labor groups, learning institutions, and government in the governance of TVET, increase the relevance and ensure the responsiveness of TVET programs to industry needs, and contribute to the growth of industries and ultimately further enhance the employability of TVET graduates. We also have our TVET Innovation Conceptual Framework, which is our blueprint for modernizing and upgrading our TVET institutions nationwide. Basically, it will annex a regional TVET Innovation Center in our TESDA run schools and will have the following components: an authentic learning environment experience for learners, research and development and entrepreneurship components incorporated in TVET offerings, higher level TVET programs including on new and emerging technologies, and the establishment of close partnerships with local stakeholders in industry, academia, and government. MSMEs will benefit from the establishment of these TVET innovation centers by having the facilities that are at par or well beyond industry standards, as well as by having an avenue for them to engage in technology research, product development, and entrepreneurial activities. As of now, we already have an existing regional TVET Innovation Center in Cebu and are planning to construct more nationwide via our national budget and others. We are also in the process of developing the Philippine Skills Framework together with DTI and other relevant Philippine government agencies and Skills Future Singapore. This skills framework shall be our guide towards reskilling and upskilling our workers, particularly in technologies under the Fourth Industrial Revolution and other new and emerging technologies. Lastly, we have our regular programs that are also supportive towards the capacity building of our MSMEs. Our competency assessment and certification process seeks to determine whether TVET graduates are capable of performing to the standards in the workplace. Those who undergo the assessment process shall be given the national certificate provided they meet the set standards. This ensures the productivity, quality, and global competitiveness of Filipino workers. Shown in this table is the number of assessed and certified for the years 2017 to 2020, and we can really see the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and the closures of TVET schools in the numbers last year. On the other hand, given the state of TVET last year due to the implementation of community quarantines, we made good use of the time that schools were closed to really look into our TVET program offerings and our training regulations to make sure these are still in line with the competency requirements of industries. We also developed new competency standards and training regulations related to new and emerging technologies to make sure these are covered in TVET programs offered by our TVET institutions nationwide. In 2020, we developed 22 competency standards, while the number of training regulations reviewed and developed were 12 and 27, respectively. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or clarifications, especially on our programs and services for MSMEs, we would be happy to answer these during the open forum later. And you may also drop us an email. Thank you very much and good afternoon.